Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into something that'll make you grateful for modern medicine and maybe think twice about complaining when your doctor asks for a simple blood test. We're talking about the Middle Ages, when your morning bathroom break wasn't just relief, it was pharmacy time. That's right, we're exploring how medieval people turned urine into their miracle cure for everything from toothaches to the plague. Before we begin this golden journey through history, take a moment to like the video if you enjoy learning about humanity's weirdest medical moments. And let me know in the comments what's the strangest home remedy someone in your family still swears by. I bet it's not as wild as what we're about to discover. Now grab a drink, preferably not yellow, dim the lights, and let's travel back to a time when your bladder was considered a divine pharmacy and your doctor's first question wasn't about your symptoms, but about the color of your morning stream. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll never look at a bathroom the same way again. Number 1. Medieval belief in healing urine. Congratulations, you've just woken up in medieval Europe, and the first thing you need to know is this: that yellow liquid you're about to produce isn't waste. It's liquid gold. Divine medicine. The cure-all that flows from heaven through your kidneys and into your chamber pot every single morning. Welcome to a world where urine wasn't just bodily fluid, it was holy water with a bladder delivery system. In the medieval mind, nothing that came from the human body could be accidental or meaningless. God had designed every part of creation with purpose, and that included what came out of you during your morning routine. Urine was considered pure, filtered, and blessed with healing powers that modern medicine could only dream of achieving. The theory went like this: your body was a sacred vessel, created in God's image and filled with divine energy. When you ate food and drank water, your body transformed these earthly substances into something holy. Blood carried life through your veins, and urine was blood that had been purified, concentrated, and prepared by your kidneys into personalized medicine. Medieval scholars wrote extensively about what they called the golden medicine. They believed urine contained the perfect balance of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Unlike external medicines that might upset this delicate balance, urine was custom-made by your own body to restore harmony and health. But this wasn't just theoretical theology. Medieval people had observed that urine seemed to work. In a world without understanding of germs, bacteria, or infection, they noticed that wounds washed with urine often healed better than wounds left untreated. They saw people recover from illnesses after drinking urine. They didn't understand why, but they saw results, and that was proof enough. The belief system was reinforced by ancient authorities. Classical physicians like Hippocrates and Galen had written about urine as both diagnostic tool and medicine. Medieval doctors weren't inventing urine therapy. They believed they were preserving ancient wisdom passed down from the greatest minds in medical history. Religious doctrine supported the science. If God created the human body as a temple, then everything produced by that temple must have divine purpose. Waste was a modern concept. To medieval minds, there was no such thing as biological waste, only misunderstood medicine. The doctrine of signatures provided additional proof. God marked everything in creation with signs showing its purpose. Urine was yellow, the color of gold and sunlight, which meant it carried solar energy and divine power. Its warmth when it left the body proved it contained life force. Its clarity showed it was pure. Different types of urine carried different healing properties. Children's urine was considered especially pure because children were closer to God and hadn't been corrupted by adult sins. Virgins' urine was prized for its supposed innocence. Pregnant women's urine was believed to contain double life force. Even animal urine had specific uses: horse urine for strength, goat urine for sure-footedness. The timing of collection mattered too. Dawn urine was strongest because it had been concentrating all night. Midday urine was balanced and gentle. Evening urine was calming and good for sleep disorders. Each moment of the day produced slightly different medicine. But the most powerful belief was that urine was democratic medicine. Rich or poor, noble or peasant, everyone produced their own personal pharmacy every day. You didn't need expensive herbs from distant lands or rare minerals from deep mines. Your medicine was always with you, warm and ready, a gift from God that refilled itself naturally. This wasn't ignorance or desperation. This was a complete worldview where urine therapy made perfect scientific sense. Medieval people weren't stupid. They were working with the best information they had, trying to heal themselves and their families in a world where death lurked around every corner. And sometimes, purely by accident, urine therapy actually helped. Not because it was magical, but because in a world of contaminated water and dirty rags, sterile urine was genuinely cleaner than most alternatives. Number 2. Doctors prescribing urine. So you're feeling sick in medieval Europe, and you visit the local physician. You're expecting herbs, maybe some bloodletting, perhaps a prayer or two. Instead, the doctor pulls out an expensive piece of parchment, dips his quill in ink, and writes you an official prescription that makes your modern pharmacy receipts look boring. Recipe, he writes in careful Latin: take 2 ounces of maiden's water, collected at first light, warmed gently over oak coals, to be consumed before breaking fast for 7 consecutive days. If symptoms persist, increase dosage to 4 ounces and add 1 spoonful of blessed wine. Welcome to medieval medicine, where doctors didn't just suggest urine as a desperate last resort. They prescribed it with the confidence of someone who'd studied at university and had a diploma written in Latin hanging on his wall. Medieval physicians were university-educated men who'd spent years studying classical medical texts. They weren't village-wise women or folk healers making up treatments. These were professional doctors who prescribed urine therapy as legitimate, scientific medicine based on centuries of accumulated medical knowledge. The prescription process was surprisingly sophisticated. First, the physician would conduct a thorough examination of your own urine using uroscopy techniques. He'd analyze color, smell, clarity, and yes, taste to determine your exact condition. Then, based on his diagnosis, he prescribed specific urine treatments with precise dosages, timing, and sources. For internal medicine, doctors prescribed what they called auto-urine therapy, drinking your own urine according to strict medical schedules. Morning urine on an empty stomach for digestive problems. Evening urine mixed with wine for sleep disorders. Midday urine diluted with spring water for general weakness and fatigue. But they didn't limit themselves to self-medication. Medieval physicians maintained detailed lists of urine donors for specific medical conditions. Got kidney stones? You needed urine from someone who'd never had kidney problems. Suffering from melancholy? The doctor would prescribe urine from cheerful, optimistic donors whose happy disposition would transfer to you through their liquid medicine. The most respected medical school in Europe, the University of Salerno, taught formal courses in urine therapy. Students learned to identify dozens of urine types, memorize complex treatment protocols, and prepare sophisticated urine-based compounds. Medical graduation required demonstrating competency in urine prescription and analysis. Prescription formats were standardized and professional. Written in Latin on expensive parchment, signed by licensed physicians, and often sealed with wax. These weren't folk remedies scribbled on scraps. They were official medical documents that cost serious money. For wealthy patients, doctors offered personalized urine therapy programs. They'd analyze the patient's lifestyle, diet, age, and constitution to determine the perfect urine treatment plan. Some physicians kept detailed medical records of which urine types worked best for specific patients, creating medieval databases of liquid medicine effectiveness. The really advanced doctors combined urine therapy with other treatments. Bloodletting followed by urine consumption to replace lost fluids with pure medicine. Herbal baths enhanced with aged urine for maximum healing power. Even surgery was sometimes followed by urine applications to speed recovery and prevent infection. Payment for urine prescriptions was just as expensive as any other medical treatment. Doctors charged consultation fees for examining your urine, prescription fees for writing the treatment plan, and sometimes sourcing fees if they had to locate specific types of therapeutic urine from donors. Medieval medical ethics required doctors to follow up on urine treatments. Patients would return for regular checkups where physicians would examine their urine again to monitor progress. If the treatment wasn't working, doctors would adjust the prescription, different urine sources, modified dosages, or additional ingredients. And just like modern medicine, there were second opinions. If one doctor's urine prescription didn't work, patients would consult other physicians who might recommend different urine sources, preparation methods, or consumption schedules. The medical community was surprisingly divided on optimal urine therapy techniques. Some doctors even specialized exclusively in urine medicine, becoming known throughout their regions as experts in liquid therapeutics. These specialists commanded high fees and were consulted on the most difficult cases, especially when conventional treatments had failed. Number 3. Uroscopy obsession. Step into any medieval doctor's office, and the most important piece of medical equipment wasn't a stethoscope or surgical tools. It was a specially crafted glass flask called metulla. This wasn't just any container. This was precision medical equipment, blown by skilled glassmakers specifically for urine analysis, with measurements etched into the sides and a shape designed to separate sediment from clear liquid. Welcome to uroscopy, the medieval medical specialty that turned pee examination into high art. Every medieval physician owned a complete uroscopy kit that would make modern doctors jealous. Multiple metulas of different sizes for different types of analysis. Color charts showing dozens of urine shades and their medical meanings. Magnifying lenses for detailed examination. Special heating devices for warming samples. Even taste testing spoons made from silver or bone. The diagnostic process was more ritualistic than a religious ceremony. Patients had to follow strict preparation rules that made modern medical fasting look casual. No food for 12 hours before collection. No wine, spices, or strong-flavored foods for days beforehand. Wake before dawn. Collect the very first morning urine in a spotlessly clean container. Any deviation could contaminate the results and lead to misdiagnosis. Doctors would hold the filled medulla up to candlelight or sunlight, rotating it slowly like a sacred chalice while examining every microscopic detail. They looked for 20 different characteristics, each one revealing secrets about the patient's internal condition. Color intensity, transparency, foam patterns, sediment layers, surface films, floating particles, and even the way light refracted through the liquid. Each observation had specific medical meaning that doctors had memorized from years of study. Pale yellow indicated perfectly balanced humors. The patient was healthy. Deep amber suggested fever or excessive heat in the body. Reddish tints meant blood disorders or internal bleeding. Green coloring warned of serious liver or gallbladder problems. White cloudiness pointed to kidney disease. Black urine meant pack your affairs and prepare your soul, death was coming. But color was just the beginning of uroscopy analysis. Doctors examined foam patterns with the intensity of modern pathologists studying tissue samples. Thick, persistent foam indicated lung problems or breathing difficulties. Thin, quick disappearing bubbles suggested digestive issues or stomach weakness. No foam at all meant the body was too weak to produce proper waste, a very bad sign. Sediment analysis required even more skill. Heavy particles settling quickly at the bottom indicated kidney stones forming. Floating materials suggested bladder infections or urinary tract problems. Crystal-like formations warned of dangerous mineral imbalances that could cause serious illness or death. The smell test was mandatory and incredibly detailed. Medieval doctors trained their noses like modern perfumers, developing sophisticated scent vocabularies for medical diagnosis. Sweet odors indicated what they called honey urine disease, what we now know as diabetes. Foul, rotting smells suggested serious internal infection. Fruity scents warned of blood sugar problems. Sharp, ammonia-like odors pointed to kidney failure. And yes, taste testing was absolutely standard medical practice. Physicians would take careful sips of their patient's urine, analyzing flavor profiles with the seriousness of wine experts. They'd identify subtle taste notes and what they meant medically. Bitter flavors indicating liver problems. Salty taste suggesting kidney issues. Sweet flavors confirming diabetes. Metallic tastes warning of poisoning or blood disorders. The most skilled uroscopy doctors were medical celebrities. They claimed they could diagnose pregnancy in the first weeks before women even knew they were expecting. They predict the sex of unborn children by examining the mother's urine color and consistency. Some even claimed they could determine how long someone had left to live based on specific urine characteristics. These expert uroscopists would examine urine samples from entire families to identify hereditary conditions and predict which children might develop their parents' diseases. They'd study urine from different times of day to track how illnesses progressed and whether treatments were working. Royal physicians became famous for their uroscopy skills. Kings and queens would summon them specifically to analyze their royal streams and provide detailed health reports. Some monarchs had their urine examined daily as a form of preventive medicine, believing early detection through urine analysis could prevent serious illness. But the truly advanced practitioners offered remote uroscopy services. Wealthy patients from distant cities would send sealed flasks of their urine by trusted messengers to famous doctors who provide detailed diagnoses and treatment plans without ever meeting the patient face-to-face. Medieval telemedicine, powered by chamber pots and fast horses. Number 4. Urine gargle for toothaches. Your tooth feels like someone's driving a red-hot nail through your jaw. The pain shoots up into your skull, down into your neck, and radiates through your entire face like fire. You can't eat, can't sleep, can't think about anything except the agony pulsing in your mouth. In modern times, you'd grab some painkillers and speed dial your dentist. In medieval times, time to heat up some pee and start swishing. Welcome to medieval dentistry, where the best treatment for tooth pain came straight from your bladder. Medieval people had a creative, if completely wrong, understanding of dental problems. They believed tooth pain was caused by tiny worms that lived inside your teeth, eating holes and causing agony. These weren't microscopic bacteria. They literally thought actual worms, visible to the naked eye, were burrowing through your molars like termites through wood. The tooth worms were supposedly attracted to sweet foods, which explained why rich people who could afford honey and imported fruits seemed to have more dental problems. These oral parasites could only be killed with substances that were pure, hot, and powerful enough to penetrate deep into the tooth's core. And what was purer, hotter, and more powerful than fresh human urine, heated over a fire and blessed with divine healing energy? The gargling process was detailed, ritualistic, and absolutely disgusting by modern standards. First, collect fresh urine in a clean bowl, preferably your own, but sometimes from a healthy donor if your own urine was considered too weak. Heat it gently over oak coals until it steamed but didn't boil. Boiling would allegedly destroy the healing properties. Add a pinch of salt if available, since salt was believed to enhance urine's toothworm-killing power. Some physicians recommended adding crushed herbs like mint or sage, not to improve the taste, but to provide additional antimicrobial strength against the dental invaders. Then came the treatment itself. Take a mouthful of the warm urine and swish it around the painful tooth for as long as you could tolerate the taste, texture, and psychological horror of having someone's pee in your mouth. Focus the liquid directly on the affected area, believing the heat and purifying power would penetrate the tooth and kill the worms inside. Hold it there until your mouth went numb or you couldn't stand it anymore. Then spit it out forcefully to expel the dead worms and corrupted matter. Rinse with wine or clean water if available. Then repeat the entire process 3 times for maximum worm-killing effectiveness. For severe toothaches that didn't respond to basic urine gargling, the treatment intensified dramatically. Doctors recommended holding aged urine liquid that had been stored in sealed containers for days or weeks to concentrate its medicinal properties in your mouth until it went completely numb. Some prescribed urine that had been mixed with crushed garlic, believing the combination would create a super weapon against dental parasites. The wealthy could afford premium dental urine collected specifically from young people with perfect teeth. The medical theory was that healthy teeth produced healthy urine, and using it would transfer that dental health directly to your diseased mouth. Some nobles paid servants good money specifically for their dental quality pee. Children's urine was especially prized for dental care because their teeth were still young and strong. Parents would collect their healthy children's morning urine and use it to treat their own dental problems, believing youthful essence could restore aging teeth to their original condition. Animal urine entered the dental care arsenal for serious cases. Horse urine for severe pain, because horses had strong teeth that could chew tough grass all day. Goat urine for infections, because goats chewed rough plants and never seemed to have mouth problems. Even cow urine was prescribed for general dental health. The strangest dental urine treatment was the overnight cure for persistent toothworms. Patients would soak linen cloths in fresh urine, pack them around the painful tooth, and sleep with a mouth full of pea-soaked fabric. The theory was that prolonged contact would give the urine time to penetrate deep into the tooth, reach the worm's hiding places, and kill them while the patient slept. Medieval dental guides included specific prayers to say while gargling urine, combining medical treatment with spiritual healing. The idea was that God would bless the urine while you prayed over it, making it more powerful against tooth demons and oral evil spirits. And for children with tooth pain, parents would dilute urine with milk or honey to make it more palatable, but urine was still considered absolutely essential for proper dental healing. Some families had special urine collection systems just for pediatric dental emergencies. Number 5. Women using urine for beauty. Medieval women wanted to look beautiful just like women today. They wanted smooth skin, bright eyes, shiny hair, and that radiant glow that attracted good marriage prospects and social respect. The difference? Their beauty routine included daily applications of liquid that came directly from their own bodies, and sometimes from other people's bodies too. Welcome to medieval skincare, where urine wasn't gross, it was gorgeous. In a world where mirrors were rare and expensive, women couldn't see themselves clearly enough to monitor subtle skin changes. But they could feel when their skin was rough, dry, or blemished. and they'd inherited beauty wisdom from generations of women who swore that urine was nature's perfect cosmetic treatment. The belief system was logical by medieval standards. Urine was pure, filtered by the body's own divine systems, and contained the essence of health and vitality. If it could cure diseases internally, surely it could restore beauty externally. It was like having a personal fountain of youth that refilled itself every few hours. Medieval beauty manuals, usually written by educated monks who'd never actually touched a woman's face, recommended urine for virtually every cosmetic concern. These weren't casual suggestions, they were detailed treatment protocols with specific instructions for preparation, application, and timing. The basic facial treatment was surprisingly gentle and systematic. Women would collect their first morning urine in clean silver or copper bowls, believing these precious metals enhanced the purifying properties through divine resonance. After washing their faces with cold spring water, they'd apply the urine using soft linen cloths, dabbing gently and leaving it on for exactly the time it took to recite a complete rosary. But different beauty problems required different urine solutions, each with its own preparation method and application technique. For wrinkles and signs of aging, women used aged urine that had been stored in sealed clay containers for 3 to 7 days. The fermentation process supposedly concentrated the youth-restoring properties, creating medieval anti-aging cream. For acne and skin blemishes, fresh urine mixed with crushed rose petals, lavender, or other aromatic herbs. The flowers weren't just for scent, they were believed to add their own purifying properties to the urine's natural healing power. The mixture would be applied as a mask and left on until it dried completely. For dark spots and uneven skin tone, women used urine that had been collected during specific phases of the moon. New moon urine for lightening dark spots. Full moon urine for overall radiance. Some beauty treatments required urine collected at midnight, believing darkness concentrated its purifying essence. Pregnancy urine was the medieval equivalent of today's most expensive anti-aging serums. Pregnant women could earn substantial money selling their urine to wealthy ladies who believed it contained the essence of new life and could restore their own youthful appearance. Some noble women paid premium prices for urine from pregnant teenagers, considering it the ultimate beauty elixir. The most sought-after beauty urine came from young women known for their exceptional beauty. If someone had particularly smooth skin or radiant complexion, other women would pay for access to their morning urine, believing beautiful people produced beautiful medicine. Hair care involved elaborate urine treatments that would make modern salon procedures look simple. Women would wash their hair with carefully diluted urine, believing it would make it shinier, stronger, and more lustrous. The process required specific mixing ratios. Too strong, and it would damage the hair. Too weak, and it wouldn't work. Blonde hair was especially prized in medieval Europe, and some women used aged urine mixed with specific herbs to lighten their natural color. They'd apply the mixture, sit in sunlight for hours, and repeat the process daily for weeks, slowly bleaching their hair with fermented pea and prayer. Full-body beauty treatments were reserved for the truly wealthy and dedicated. Noble women would fill entire wooden bathtubs with warm urine collected from carefully selected donors. These beauty baths were enormously expensive and time-consuming, but were believed to soften skin, reduce signs of aging, and create an overall radiant appearance that would last for weeks. The preparation rituals for beauty urine were as important as the treatments themselves. Donors had to follow specific diets, no garlic, onions, or strong spices that might affect the urine's purifying properties. Some women paid donors to fast for days before collection, believing hunger would concentrate the beauty-enhancing elements. Number 6. Drinking urine against plague. The year is 1348, and death has come to Europe wearing black robes and carrying a scythe made of bubonic plague. Bodies pile up in the streets faster than gravediggers can bury them. Entire families disappear in days. Cities turn into ghost towns. Modern medicine doesn't exist. Antibiotics won't be invented for another 600 years. But don't panic, medieval doctors have discovered the ultimate plague fighter, and it's been inside you all along. When the Black Death arrived, medieval physicians went into crisis mode. They tried everything they knew, bloodletting to drain corrupted humors, burning aromatic herbs to purify the air, prayer and fasting to appease God's wrath. Nothing worked. People kept dying in horrible, agonizing ways. That's when desperate doctors remembered the ancient wisdom about urine being divine medicine, and they thought maybe, just maybe, God's own filtered liquid could fight God's own punishment. The medical logic was actually rational by medieval standards. Plague was believed to be caused by corrupted air poisonous vapors called miasma that entered the body through the lungs and corrupted the blood. Urine, being pure blood that had been filtered by the kidneys and blessed by divine intervention, could theoretically cleanse the corruption from within. It was like internal purification, washing away the plague poison with heaven's own medicine, fighting divine punishment with divine cure. But this wasn't casual folk medicine. University-trained physicians developed detailed plague urine protocols based on their understanding of humoral medicine and disease theory. They prescribed specific dosages, timing, and urine sources designed to maximize anti-plague effectiveness. The basic treatment required drinking large quantities of fresh urine, preferably your own, on an empty stomach first thing every morning. The theory was that plague corruption was strongest during sleep, so morning urine therapy would cleanse away the night's accumulated poison before it could take hold. But serious plague cases required serious urine medicine. Doctors prescribed urine from multiple healthy donors, believing that mixing different healing essences would create more powerful anti-plague medicine. Some physicians recommended combining urine from people of different ages, children's purity, adult strength, elders' wisdom, creating liquid medicine that covered all bases. The most desperate families organized community urine collection efforts during plague outbreaks. Everyone who was still healthy would contribute their morning streams to large barrels, and the mixture would be distributed to the sick like medieval medical insurance. Neighbors would share their bodily fluids in hopes of saving their community. Religious communities had their own plague urine strategies. Monasteries and convents, where residents lived pure lives and ate simple diets, were believed to produce the most potent anti-plague urine. Monks and nuns were constantly asked to donate their morning streams for plague victims, turning religious houses into medical supply centers. The wealthy could afford premium plague protection. They'd hire healthy peasants to live on carefully controlled diets designed to produce the most medicinal urine possible. These professional pea producers would eat specific foods, avoid alcohol and spices, and live almost monastery-like lives to ensure their output was plague-fighting quality. Timing was considered crucial. Plague urine had to be consumed within hours of collection, while it still contained maximum divine essence. Some doctors insisted patients drink it while it was still warm from the donor's body, believing heat carried extra healing power. The dosage was serious too. Not just a sip or small cup, but full goblets consumed multiple times daily. Some physicians prescribed drinking nothing but urine and weak ale until plague symptoms disappeared or the patient died trying. And when people occasionally survived the plague after drinking gallons of other people's urine, that was absolute proof the treatment worked. Never mind that plague mortality rates were roughly the same regardless of treatment. The survivors became walking testimonials to the power of liquid medicine, spreading the gospel of urine therapy to anyone who'd listen. Number 7. Urine in wound care. You've just sliced your hand open with a rusty farming tool while working in the fields. Blood is everywhere, dirt is embedded in the cut, and in a world without antibiotics or antiseptics, infection is basically guaranteed to turn a simple accident into a death sentence. Unless, of course, you know about medieval wound care's secret weapon, the healing power of human urine. In medieval Europe, battlefield surgeons, village healers, and even trained physicians all agreed on one thing. When it came to cleaning wounds, nothing beat fresh, warm, sterile urine straight from a healthy bladder. The medical theory made perfect sense to medieval minds. Wounds were dangerous because they allowed evil humors, corrupted air, and spiritual poison to enter the body through breaks in the skin. These foreign substances would cause infection, fever, and death unless they were immediately flushed out with something pure enough to fight corruption. And what was purer than urine? Blood that had been filtered by God's own design, warmed by divine life force, and delivered fresh from the body's internal pharmacy. The wound cleaning process was surprisingly systematic and detailed. First, collect fresh urine in the cleanest container available, silver or copper bowls for the wealthy, clean clay pots for everyone else. Heat it gently over a fire until it was warm but not boiling, since excessive heat would allegedly destroy the healing properties. Use clean linen cloths or soft wool to wash the wound thoroughly with warm urine, making sure to flush out all visible dirt, debris, and corrupted matter. The urine was supposed to penetrate deep into the wound, killing evil spirits and preventing them from spreading through the body. For deep cuts that wouldn't stop bleeding, doctors recommended urine irrigation, pouring steady streams of warm urine directly into the wound to flush out what they called corrupted matter before it could cause infection. They believed pus and gangrene were caused by evil humors that entered through damaged skin, and urine could wash these toxins away before they took hold. But different types of wounds required different urine treatments, each with specific medical justifications. Fresh cuts from clean tools got fresh human urine. Dirty wounds from rusty implements needed aged urine that had been fermented for several days, supposedly making it stronger against corruption. Animal bites required urine from the same type of animal, based on a medieval medical principle that like cures like. Battlefield medicine relied heavily on urine wound care. Military surgeons carried supplies of collected urine along with their bandages and surgical tools. Soldiers were trained to urinate on their own wounds immediately if no medical help was available. It was considered basic first aid, like modern knowledge of tourniquets or pressure points. Combat medics would collect urine from the healthiest soldiers before battles, storing it in leather bladders for emergency wound treatment. Fresh wounds were washed with fresh urine. Infected wounds got aged, concentrated urine. Festering wounds received urine mixed with wine or vinegar for extra purifying power. The wealthy received premium wound care that made regular urine treatment look primitive. Their physicians would source urine from healthy virgins or holy people, collected in precious metal vessels and heated with expensive imported herbs. Rich patients got designer wound care, custom-mixed urine solutions prepared by medical experts. For burns, urine was considered the ultimate treatment. Medieval people believed fire damage required immediate cooling, and urine, being naturally cool when first produced and pure when heated, could draw the heat out while preventing infection. Burn victims would be covered in urine-soaked bandages that were changed multiple times daily. Surgical aftercare included mandatory urine washing. After any operation, from tooth extraction to limb amputation, the wound site would be regularly cleaned with warm urine to prevent evil spirits from entering through the surgical opening. Some surgeons stitched wounds with thread that had been soaked in urine for extra protection. And for infected wounds that were already showing signs of corruption, continuous urine treatment, washing with fresh urine multiple times daily, while also having the patient drink urine internally to fight infection from both inside and outside the body. Medieval medical texts included detailed wound care recipes. For wounds of the sword, wash immediately with warm urine of a virtuous youth. Apply clean cloth soaked in morning water. Repeat thrice daily until flesh grows whole and pink. These weren't desperate folk remedies. They were professional medical protocols written by university-educated physicians. The strangest part, sometimes urine wound care actually helped prevent infection. Not because it had magical healing powers, but because in a world where the alternative was washing wounds with contaminated river water, dirty rags, or not cleaning them at all, sterile urine was genuinely one of the cleaner options available. Number 8. Collected urine as commodity. In medieval Europe, where everything from grain to goat hair had market value, human urine became one of the economy's most unusual but profitable commodities. While most people produced their own liquid medicine, there was a thriving marketplace for premium pee, complete with quality standards, pricing tiers, and professional collection networks. Welcome to medieval Europe's golden economy. Literally golden, and definitely liquid. The urine trade operated like any other medieval commodity market, with supply and demand determining prices and quality standards determining value. Fresh urine commanded higher prices than aged urine. Urine from healthy donors cost more than urine from sick people. And specialty urine from virgins, pregnant women, or holy people could cost as much as imported spices or fine wine. Professional urine collectors made daily rounds through medieval towns and villages, carrying large clay vessels and small bags of coins to purchase liquid medicine from anyone willing to sell. They'd test quality on the spot, checking color, smell, and clarity before making their offers. Clear, pale yellow urine earned top prices. Dark, cloudy, or foul-smelling urine was rejected or bought at discount rates. Monasteries and convents became major suppliers in the urine economy. Monks and nuns who lived pure lives, ate simple food, and spent their days in prayer were believed to produce the most potent healing urine available. Religious houses would sell their collective morning streams to fund monastery operations. It was like medieval crowdfunding, except with bladders instead of donations. The quality control systems were surprisingly sophisticated. Urine merchants developed grading systems based on donor health, age, diet, and lifestyle. Premium grade came from healthy teenagers who ate clean diets and avoided alcohol. Standard grade came from healthy adults with no obvious illnesses. Economy grade came from anyone else willing to sell. Specialty markets catered to specific medical and magical needs. Pregnant women's urine was sold exclusively to fertility doctors and women struggling to conceive. Virgins' urine went to purification specialists and wealthy customers who believed innocence could be transferred through liquid medicine. Elderly people's urine was marketed to those seeking wisdom and longevity. Storage and transportation created entire supporting industries. Clay pot makers specialized in urine storage vessels. Wagon drivers developed fast delivery routes to ensure freshness. Even medieval chemists got involved, experimenting with preservation methods to extend urine's shelf life and medicinal potency. Poor families discovered that urine sales could provide crucial supplemental income. Children, elderly relatives, and disabled family members who couldn't work in fields or crafts could still contribute to household finances by selling their daily liquid production. It was one of the few ways completely unable-bodied people could earn money in medieval society. The pricing was based on medieval logic that seems bizarre today. A flask of healthy teenager's urine might cost the same as a loaf of bread. Pregnant woman's urine could cost as much as a chicken. Virgin's urine was priced like imported wine. The sicker you were, the more you'd pay for healthy people's liquid medicine. Quality assurance required personal guarantees. Urine sellers had to vouch for their health, diet, and lifestyle. Regular customers developed relationships with trusted suppliers who would reserve their best morning streams for valued clients. Some dealers offered money-back guarantees if their urine didn't provide promised results. Alchemists and apothecaries were major wholesale buyers. They'd purchase urine in bulk quantities, then age it, distill it, mix it with herbs, or process it into more expensive medicines that they'd sell at huge markups. Medieval pharmaceutical companies, powered by chamber pots and profit margins. The seasonal market was surprisingly complex. Winter urine was considered stronger because cold weather concentrated the healing essences. Spring urine was milder and better for gentle treatments. Summer urine was abundant but weaker. Autumn urine was prized for its balance. Urban areas developed urine exchanges where dealers could buy and sell in bulk. Rural suppliers would bring wagon loads of collected urine to trade with city merchants who had direct access to wealthy customers willing to pay premium prices for liquid medicine. And for the desperate poor who couldn't afford to buy urine, they'd barter other goods and services in exchange for healing liquid, trading food, labor, or handmade items for access to premium pee from healthy donors. Number 9. Urine in magical rituals. When medieval medicine failed and prayer wasn't enough, people turned to magic. And magical rituals in the Middle Ages required ingredients that were personal, powerful, and connected to the spiritual essence of the person seeking help. Enter urine, the liquid bridge between your physical body and your immortal soul, perfect for casting spells that modern witches would never dare attempt. Folk magic practitioners, village wise women, and cunning folk throughout medieval Europe all used urine as a crucial component in their supernatural healing and protection rituals. The magical logic was flawless by medieval standards. Urine came from inside your body, carried your personal essence, and could therefore be used to cast spells specifically tailored to your soul's needs. It was like magical, liquid proof of your identity that could be manipulated by those who knew the ancient arts. Protection spells required the most basic urine magic. Families would collect everyone's morning urine, mix it with blessed salt, and sprinkle the combination around their homes, barns, and property boundaries. The belief was that evil spirits, demons, and bad luck couldn't cross barriers made from the concentrated life essence of the people they were trying to harm. Some protection rituals were more elaborate. Village-wise women would create urine-based ward bottles, clay containers filled with urine, iron nails, thorns, and other protective materials, then buried at the four corners of a property to create invisible magical barriers against supernatural threats. Love magic relied heavily on urine as a binding agent between souls. Women trying to win men's affections would secretly add drops of their own urine to food or drink, believing it would create an unbreakable spiritual connection. The man would unknowingly consume her essence and become magically bound to her forever. Men practiced the same love magic, though apparently with less success since medieval women seemed naturally suspicious of mysteriously flavored meals served by overly attentive suitors. Curses required the target's urine, which led to elaborate theft schemes. Enemies would steal chamber pots, bribe servants to collect samples, or even pay children to gather their target's liquid essence. Once you possess someone's urine, you could supposedly control their fate, causing illness, bad luck, financial ruin, or even death by performing dark rituals with their captured soul juice. Healing magic combined medical treatment with supernatural intervention. Sick people would be bathed in blessed urine while cunning folk chanted ancient prayers and waved burning herbs. The urine was supposed to wash away both physical illness and spiritual corruption, cleansing body and soul simultaneously through liquid purification. Fertility magic made extensive use of urine, especially from pregnant women, new mothers, and women known for having many healthy children. Childless couples would drink fertility potions made from blessed reproductive urine, believing it would transfer baby-making power from fertile women to barren ones. Some fertility rituals required burying urine-soaked cloth under the marital bed during specific moon phases, creating magical wombs that would encourage conception. Other spells involved mixing urine with ground animal bones, crushed flowers, and holy water to create pregnancy potions. Divination with urine was common among fortune tellers and village seers. They'd examine urine patterns like modern people read tea leaves, looking for supernatural signs and omens in the sediment, bubble formations, and surface films. Experienced diviners claimed they could predict future illnesses, identify hidden enemies, and even foresee death by reading the spiritual messages hidden in liquid waste. Weather magic sometimes involved community urine rituals. During droughts, entire villages might contribute to massive urine collections that were poured onto sacred stones or into rivers, believing concentrated human essence would encourage rain clouds to form. During floods, they'd burn urine-soaked materials to magically dry up excess water. For serious magical work that required maximum supernatural power, practitioners sought virgins' urine collected at midnight under a full moon, mixed with graveyard dirt, crushed bones from holy relics, and blessed by a priest who didn't know what he was actually blessing. This combination was believed powerful enough to break curses, heal incurable diseases, communicate with the dead, or even grant wishes. The church officially condemned urine magic as superstition, devil worship, and dangerous heresy. But that didn't stop desperate people from practicing it in secret. When your child is dying, your crops are failing, or your enemies are threatening your family, you'll try anything, even if it means sneaking around at midnight with jars of pee and forbidden spells. Medieval grimoires, secret books of magical knowledge, included detailed recipes for urine-based spells, complete with timing instructions, preparation methods, and incantations. These weren't casual folk remedies, but serious magical protocols passed down through generations of practitioners. Number 10. The decline of urine medicine. By the late medieval period and early Renaissance, something was starting to shift in the medical world. New ideas were creeping in from the Islamic world. Ancient Greek texts were being rediscovered and properly translated, and a few brave physicians were beginning to question whether drinking pee was really the best medical practice available. But the decline of urine medicine wasn't sudden or dramatic. It was gradual, messy, and filled with resistance from both doctors and patients who'd spent centuries believing in liquid medicine's divine power. The first cracks in urine therapy's foundation came from improved translations of classical medical texts. Medieval scholars had been working with corrupted, poorly translated versions of ancient Greek and Roman medical knowledge. When better translations became available, some physicians realized that the classical authorities hadn't been quite as enthusiastic about urine therapy as medieval doctors had believed. Islamic medical knowledge, preserved and expanded during Europe's Dark Ages, began filtering back through Spain and trade routes. Islamic physicians had moved beyond simple urine analysis toward more sophisticated diagnostic methods. They still used uroscopy, but they developed additional techniques that didn't require drinking bodily waste. The printing press, invented in the mid-15th century, allowed medical knowledge to spread faster and more accurately than ever before. New medical texts could be distributed widely, and physicians could compare treatments and results across different regions. Slowly, patterns emerged showing that urine therapy wasn't as effective as its proponents claimed. But the biggest challenge to urine medicine came from direct observation and early experimental thinking. A few progressive physicians began keeping detailed records of treatment outcomes, tracking which patients recovered and which didn't. The results were troubling. Patients who received urine therapy died at roughly the same rates as those who received other treatments or no treatment at all. The wealthy were the first to abandon urine medicine, simply because they could afford alternatives. As new medical knowledge became available, rich patients began demanding newer treatments based on improved understanding of anatomy and disease. They moved toward herbal medicines, imported drugs, and early surgical techniques. Religious opposition also grew stronger over time. The Catholic Church, initially neutral about urine therapy, began viewing it as potentially heretical. If God intended urine to be medicine, why would he also create other healing substances? Some theologians argue that excessive reliance on urine therapy showed lack of faith in divine providence and proper prayer. Medical schools slowly modified their curricula. While uroscopy remained important for diagnosis, universities began teaching fewer courses in urine therapy and more lessons in anatomy, surgery, and herbal medicine. New generations of physicians graduated with broader medical knowledge and less dependence on liquid treatments. The plague's continued devastation despite widespread urine therapy also damaged its reputation. When multiple plague outbreaks occurred throughout the 14th and 15th centuries, and urine-drinking regions suffered just as badly as everywhere else, some people began questioning whether divine medicine was really divine. Urban areas abandoned urine medicine faster than rural regions. Cities had better access to imported medicines, more educated physicians, and populations that were generally more open to new ideas. Rural areas, isolated and traditional, continued practicing urine therapy well into the Renaissance period. But even as medical urine use declined, cosmetic and magical applications persisted much longer. Women continued using urine for beauty treatments into the 16th and 17th centuries. Folk magic practitioners kept urine rituals alive in secret, passing them down through families and underground networks. The final blow to urine medicine came with the development of germ theory and scientific method in the 17th and 18th centuries. Once physicians understood that diseases were caused by microscopic organisms rather than humoral imbalances, and once they began conducting controlled experiments to test treatments, urine therapy was finally exposed as ineffective and potentially dangerous. By the time modern medicine emerged in the 19th century, urine therapy had been relegated to folk medicine and fringe practices. The golden age of liquid medicine was over, replaced by treatments based on scientific understanding rather than ancient authority and magical thinking. But here's the strangest part of urine medicine's decline. Some people today still practice it. Modern urine therapy advocates claim ancient wisdom was right all along, that traditional medicine understood something modern science has forgotten. They drink their own urine, apply it cosmetically, and swear by its healing properties. The difference is that today's urine enthusiasts are choosing alternative medicine despite having access to proven medical treatments. Medieval people practiced urine therapy because it was the best medical knowledge available to them. They weren't rejecting modern medicine. Modern medicine didn't exist yet. So the next time you visit a doctor and they ask for a simple urine sample for laboratory analysis, remember that you're participating in a medical tradition that's over 1,000 years old. The only difference is that now we know what we're actually looking for in that yellow liquid, and we definitely know better than to drink it as medicine. Medieval people weren't crazy for believing in urine therapy. They were doing their best with the knowledge they had, trying to heal themselves and their families in a world where death was always one infection away. They were brave, desperate, and absolutely convinced they discovered divine medicine in their own bladders. They were wrong, but they were trying. And sometimes, in the strange history of human medicine, trying with complete conviction is almost as important as being right. The golden age of liquid medicine is over. Thank goodness for that. But the next time you flush, maybe take a moment to appreciate that you live in an age where medicine comes from laboratories instead of latrines, where healing happens in hospitals instead of chamber pots, and where the most disgusting thing about your medical treatment is probably just the taste of liquid antibiotics. Medieval people would trade everything they owned for one dose of modern medicine. We get it by walking to the pharmacy and handing over our insurance cards. Sometimes the best way to appreciate progress is to remember just how far we've come from the days when medicine was yellow, warm, and served fresh from your morning routine. When we laugh at medieval people for drinking urine and gargling pee, we're laughing at ourselves. Not because we're stupid, but because we're human. And humans, faced with pain and mortality, will try absolutely anything that offers even the slightest hope of relief. Medieval people weren't more gullible than we are today. They were working with the best information available to them, making rational decisions based on their understanding of the world. When your child is dying of fever, when your spouse is screaming from infected wounds, when plague is killing your neighbors one by one, you don't have the luxury of waiting for double-blind studies and peer review. You act on whatever hope you can find. And sometimes, that hope came in yellow liquid form. The medieval mind saw patterns everywhere because pattern recognition is how humans survive. When someone recovered after drinking urine, that became evidence. When wounds healed after urine washing, that proved effectiveness. They didn't understand correlation versus causation, but they understood desperation and the human need to feel like they were fighting back against fate. What's truly remarkable isn't that medieval people believed in urine medicine, it's that they created such elaborate, detailed, systematic approaches to it. They didn't just randomly drink pee and hope for the best. They developed quality standards, dosage protocols, timing requirements, and specialized preparation methods. They turned desperation into science, even if that science was built on completely wrong foundations. Medieval urine therapy reveals something profound about human nature, our refusal to accept helplessness. In a world where death was constant, unpredictable, and usually agonizing, people created elaborate systems of hope. They couldn't control plague, famine, or injury, but they could control their response to them. The history of urine therapy also reveals uncomfortable truths about how medical knowledge evolves. Medieval physicians weren't charlatans or fools. They were educated professionals following established medical protocols based on centuries of accumulated wisdom from respected authorities. They had medical schools, licensing requirements, professional standards, and peer review systems. They wrote detailed case studies, maintained patient records, and followed up on treatment outcomes. The problem wasn't their methodology, it was their foundational assumptions about how the human body worked. This should make us humble about our own medical certainties. In 500 years, will future physicians look back at our treatments with the same horrified amusement we feel toward urine therapy? Will they shake their heads at our crude chemotherapy, our primitive surgical techniques, our barbaric radiation treatments? Medical history is littered with treatments that seemed logical, were widely accepted, and turned out to be useless or harmful. Bloodletting, mercury treatments, lobotomies, thalidomide. Medical science progresses not through sudden revelations but through slow, painful recognition that yesterday's certainties were today's mistakes. The physicians prescribing urine therapy were following the best medical evidence available to them. They weren't ignoring science, they were practicing it medieval style. The lesson isn't that medieval doctors were stupid, but that medical knowledge is always provisional, always incomplete, always subject to revision. But let's not romanticize medieval urine medicine or treat it as charming historical curiosity. Real people suffered and died because of these treatments. Children were forced to drink strangers' urine instead of receiving proper care. Women endured dangerous pregnancies believing urine could protect them from complications. Plague victims spent their final days consuming liquid waste instead of getting palliative care that might have eased their suffering. The tragedy isn't that medieval people tried urine therapy, it's that they had so few alternatives. They lived in a world where medical knowledge was limited, life expectancy was short, and pain was constant. Urine medicine wasn't just medical treatment, it was psychological survival mechanism, a way to feel like they had some control in a world that offered very little. When we study medieval medicine, we're not just learning about historical curiosities. We're witnessing the human cost of ignorance, the price paid by generations who lived before scientific method, before controlled studies, before evidence-based medicine could separate effective treatments from hopeful fantasies. Every person who gargled urine for toothaches, instead of having proper dental care, suffered unnecessarily. Every plague victim who drank collected pee, instead of receiving supportive care, died harder than they needed to. Every woman who rubbed strangers' urine on her face instead of having access to actual skincare was participating in a system that offered false hope instead of real help. But here's what's both beautiful and heartbreaking about medieval urine medicine. It was democratic in a way that almost no other aspect of medieval life was. Rich or poor, noble or peasant, everyone produced their own medicine every single day. In a world where everything else, food, shelter, safety, justice, was determined by birth and wealth, urine therapy offered equal access to hope. The poorest peasant could provide the same basic treatment to their sick child as the richest noble. A dying farmer's wife could offer her husband the same liquid medicine that queens used for their headaches. In the brutal hierarchy of medieval society, bladders were remarkably egalitarian. This democratic aspect of urine medicine reveals something important about human dignity. Even when people had nothing else, no money, no property, no political power, they could still act as healers for their families. They could still feel useful, competent, and caring. They could still fight back against suffering, even if their weapons were completely ineffective. Medieval parents who gave their children urine medicine weren't abusing them, they were loving them with the best tools available. Medieval physicians who prescribed liquid waste weren't scamming patients, they were offering legitimate medical care based on established protocols. Medieval communities that shared urine during plague outbreaks weren't engaging in mass hysteria, they were supporting each other through collective crisis. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about medieval urine medicine is how long it persisted despite its obvious failures. People continued believing in liquid therapy for centuries, even as they watched friends and family members die despite urine treatments, even as plague after plague devastated urine drinking communities, even as wounds became infected despite careful urine washing. This persistence reveals something crucial about human psychology, our incredible capacity for hope in the face of overwhelming evidence. Medieval people needed to believe that healing was possible, that suffering had meaning, that they weren't completely powerless against disease and death. Urine therapy provided that psychological necessity. It gave people something to do when everything else had failed. It offered a sense of control in an uncontrollable world. It promised that the human body contained its own salvation, that divine help was as close as the nearest chamber pot. And when treatments failed, as they usually did, believers could always explain why. The urine wasn't fresh enough. The timing was wrong. The donor wasn't pure enough. The patient's faith was insufficient. The evil spirits were too strong. There was always a reason why the medicine didn't work, and that reason was never that the medicine itself was worthless. This ability to maintain faith despite repeated failure is both admirable and tragic. Admirable because it shows human resilience and refusal to surrender to hopelessness. Tragic because it kept people trapped in ineffective treatments while better alternatives might have been developed sooner. As we've moved from urine medicine to modern pharmaceuticals, we've gained almost everything that matters: effective treatments, reduced suffering, longer lives, better health outcomes. The medical advances of the past 2 centuries have eliminated diseases that terrorized our ancestors and turned previously fatal conditions into minor inconveniences. But we've also lost something that medieval urine medicine provided: the sense that healing could be personal, intimate, and democratic. Modern medicine is incredibly effective, but it's also distant, expensive, and often incomprehensible to the people it serves. Medieval people understood their medicine completely. They knew where it came from, how it was prepared, and why it was supposed to work. They were active participants in their own healing, not passive recipients of treatments they couldn't understand or afford. Today's patients often feel powerless in medical systems that are complex, bureaucratic, and sometimes dehumanizing. We've traded the illusion of control for actual effectiveness, and that's absolutely the right trade. But sometimes, in sterile hospital rooms filled with machines we don't understand, receiving treatments we can't pronounce, we might envy medieval people's sense of agency in their own healing. Modern medicine saves lives that medieval medicine couldn't touch. But medieval medicine offered something modern medicine sometimes struggles with: the feeling that you were doing everything possible, that you had agency in your own healing, that hope was always available and always affordable. The story of medieval urine medicine is really the story of humanity's eternal struggle against suffering, mortality, and the limits of knowledge. It's a chapter in the long book of human attempts to understand our bodies, heal our pain, and extend our brief time on this planet. Medieval people faced the same fundamental challenges we face today: how to treat illness, how to prevent disease, how to help the people we love when they're suffering. They just had different tools and different understanding. Their solutions were wrong, but their motivations were identical to ours. When a medieval mother gave her feverish child a cup of warm urine, she was doing exactly what modern mothers do when they give their sick children medicine. She was fighting back against her child's suffering with the best tools available to her. The love was the same. The desperation was the same. The hope was the same. Only the medicine was different. This perspective should make us both grateful for medical progress and humble about our own limitations. We know more than medieval people knew, but we don't know everything. We have better treatments, but we don't have perfect treatments. We've solved many medical mysteries, but new ones emerge constantly. Future generations may look back at our current medical practices with the same mixture of sympathy and horror we feel toward medieval urine therapy. They may wonder how we could have been so primitive, so ignorant, so willing to accept treatments that future science will prove ineffective or harmful. If medieval urine medicine teaches us anything, it's that medical knowledge is always temporary, always incomplete, and always subject to revision. The physicians who prescribed liquid waste weren't evil or stupid. They were working within their era's understanding of human health and disease. The real lesson isn't to mock their ignorance, but to remain skeptical of our own certainties. To remember that effective medicine requires not just good intentions, but rigorous testing, careful observation, and willingness to abandon treatments that don't work regardless of how much we want them to work. Medieval people wanted urine therapy to work so badly that they ignored its failures and emphasized its rare successes. They built elaborate theoretical frameworks to explain why liquid medicine should be effective, then interpreted all evidence through those frameworks. Modern medicine tries to avoid these cognitive traps through double-blind studies, peer review, and statistical analysis. But we're still human, still desperate when facing illness, still tempted to see patterns where none exist and hope where none is justified. The distance between medieval urine therapy and modern evidence-based medicine isn't as great as we'd like to think. Both represent human attempts to fight suffering with the tools and knowledge available. Both are products of their time, shaped by contemporary understanding and limited by contemporary ignorance. But perhaps the most important lesson from medieval urine medicine is that throughout history, in every era, using every available tool and technique, humans have cared for each other. Medieval people who shared their urine with sick neighbors, who collected community streams for plague victims, who spent their own money buying premium pee for their ailing family members weren't practicing good medicine, but they were practicing profound compassion. They were doing what humans have always done and will always do, reaching out to help when others are suffering, sharing whatever resources they have, and refusing to accept that pain and death are inevitable. Medieval urine medicine was scientifically worthless, but was emotionally and socially valuable. It gave people ways to care for each other, to feel useful during medical crises, to maintain hope when everything else seemed hopeless. Modern medicine is infinitely more effective, but sometimes it struggles to provide what medieval urine therapy offered effortlessly. The sense that everyone can be a healer, that medicine can be personal and intimate, that caring for others is as important as curing their diseases. As we close this golden chapter of medical history, remember that the story of urine medicine isn't really over. Modern medical researchers continue studying urine, not as medicine but as diagnostic tool. Your routine urine tests at the doctor's office are direct descendants of medieval uroscopy, just with better understanding of what those colors and chemicals actually mean. And surprisingly, some components of urine do have genuine medical applications. Urea is used in modern skincare products. Urokinase, derived from urine, is used to dissolve blood clots. Premarin, a hormone replacement therapy, was historically extracted from pregnant horse urine. Medieval people weren't completely wrong about urine having medical properties. They just didn't understand which properties were real and which were imaginary. The next time you visit a doctor and they ask for a urine sample for laboratory analysis, remember that you're participating in a medical tradition that's over 1,000 years old. The difference is that now we know what we're actually looking for in that yellow liquid, we have scientific methods for analyzing it, and we definitely know better than to drink it as medicine. But also remember the courage of medieval people who faced disease and death with nothing but hope, determination, and whatever tools they could create from their own bodies. They were wrong about the medicine, but they were absolutely right about the importance of never giving up, never stopping the fight against suffering, and never accepting that healing is impossible. Medieval urine medicine failed as medical treatment, but it succeeded as human expression, proof that people will never stop trying to heal each other. Even when their methods are misguided, their tools are inadequate, and their chances of success are practically zero. That's not medical wisdom. That's human wisdom. And that's worth remembering. Even if we're grateful, we don't have to gargle pee to remember it. The age of liquid medicine is over, but the age of human caring continues. We've just gotten much, much better at turning that caring into actual healing. And thank goodness for that, because honestly, medieval medicine was absolutely disgusting, completely ineffective, and nobody should ever try to bring it back, no matter how democratic, personal, or spiritually meaningful it might have seemed to our ancestors. Modern medicine isn't perfect, but it's clean, it's effective, and it doesn't require anyone to drink bodily waste. That's progress worth celebrating. So the next time you take an antibiotic, get a vaccination, or receive any modern medical treatment, raise a glass of clean, fresh water to toast the end of urine medicine and the beginning of healing that actually works. Our ancestors deserved better medicine than liquid waste, but they also deserved credit for never stopping their fight against suffering, even when their weapons were completely inadequate for the battle they were fighting. The golden age of medicine isn't behind us. It's still being written every day in research laboratories, medical schools, and hospitals around the world. And thankfully, none of it involves drinking anyone's morning routine.